The top stories today from our commentary arm, Reuters Breakingviews. There are no winners in Barclays' tax crackdown, and why the Buy China auto drive isn't as unfair as it first looks. Well, with me now to discuss these stories is Reuters Breakingviews assistant editor Chris Hughes. Chris, thanks for joining us once again. Let's start with this Barclays story. You're saying no winners from the Barclays tax crackdown. First of all, there's a definition here between tax avoidance and tax evasion. One's illegal and one isn't.
Yeah, I mean, look, what Barclays was doing wasn't technically illegal at the time, and it wasn't trying to minimise tax. There's some kind of arrangement here where it looked like it was trying to generate tax credits from non-taxable income. I mean, it harks back to a time where this kind of thing happened a lot in the City of London, and it was sort of normal. And what the UK government is now saying is, look, this is against the spirit of the law, and either way, we're going to change the law. So it's against the letter of the law, and we're going to be retrospective about it, which is, it leaves a slightly sort of bad taste in the mouth. The side of the government suddenly changing the law and being retrospective creates a very damaging business environment in that the companies don't know how things are going to be taxed. But at the same time, Barclays kind of had it coming. So the whole spectacle, from our point of view, is rather ugly. I mean, you can't really defend what Barclays was doing, but equally you have to feel a bit queasy about the rules suddenly being changed and sort of in the middle of the game.
Well, let's start with the bad PR side of it. Is that they've all signed up to this sort of transparency agreement that we know that a company would want to pay as little tax as possible. That's understandable. But this transaction deliberately structured to secure tax credits from the Exchequer on non-taxable income, as you say, that's very deliberate. As you say, they had it coming.
Well, look, actually, previously these schemes were sort of normal in the City of London. I mean, the thinking was, well, look, if it's on the right side of legal, and loads of lawyers, remember, there's a huge industry around this, with lawyers and accountants trying to work out what was, optimal and most efficient in their language in terms of taxation, and demonstrating that it was legal. And this was a loophole. It was legal. But now the government is saying, look, never mind that it was legal. It's against the spirit of the law, and you've all signed up to a code of conduct that says you're not going to do tax avoidance, even though it's sort of technically within the rules. The chickens have come home to roost, and the government's saying enough is enough. But the slight unpredictability of it is a little bit worrying.
So it's the retrospective side of it, because the government could just step in, and it's a good time to bash the banks, which they all seem to be doing. We could see more of this as well. Yeah,
you have a feeling that the government here is sort of slightly playing to the news agenda. I mean, that's another ugly aspect of this, which is that the government is clearly very concerned not to be accused of being in the pockets of the banks. So now, if it sees any opportunity to bash them, it seems to want to take them. So, overall, although you can say that it's right that the government should clamp down on tax avoidance, the whole, some motives here are slightly questionable.
Okay, let's move on to the other story, which is much more or as difficult to decipher. Buying China auto drive, not just protectionism. You better give us the background to this one, because this is it looks like booting out the foreign car makers from China, but there's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah. Well, this is an edict that's been passed down saying that Chinese officials now can only buy their cars from domestic manufacturers, which is going to mean...
itself is a problem in terms of definition, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it's actually there's a prescribed list, and it excludes cars made by some of these. There are quite a few joint ventures in China involving Western car makers, but no, it has to be 100% China manufactured car. So two aspects of this. One is that from an economic point of view, it seems designed to tackle a huge overcapacity in domestic car making. There's something like 6 million cars produced surplus to requirements. And so, the government's doing what it can to kind of clear that backlog. Clearly, the car industry is a big employer, the economy slows. The last thing the government wants is, challenged a challenged car industry. But at the same time, there's a bit of this political angle in that there does appear to be sort of some disgruntlement about the sight of Chinese officials whizzing around, usually in sort of blacked out Audis, sort of bombing through red lights, and generally not being a very benign sort of presence on the roads, and in these sort of foreign-made cars. So there's an economic angle, but there's also a little bit of local politics there as well.
I was going to say that final note on the fact that every mayor in China is allowed to have an Audi was a fact that probably not many people knew.
It's not the most important data point in the Chinese economy, but there is a serious point, which is that that when the Chinese economy slows, you see these kind of initiatives coming down from Beijing, essentially trying to sort of keep demand focused on domestic production. Is it protectionist strictly? Yes, you could say it is, but you can see why they're doing it.
Okay, thank you very much for that. That's all for now. My thanks to Chris. For more agenda-setting financial insight, watch our US Breaking Views show every day at 12:30 Eastern, 17:30 GMT. I'm Nigel Stevenson. This is Reuters.